Well, I'm really excited to talk about your book. I know you have put so much into this book and it has so much great information. So let's dive in. Do you happen to have a copy there? You can show us the cover.
Here it is.
Hey, awesome, awesome. So the book is Beyond Winds. And Mala, I want to talk about first, before we dive into the contents of the book, what prompted you to write this book?
I had worked for some top companies like Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Dun and Bradstreet, and Chase Manhattan, and in marketing, influential marketing roles. And in IBM also, I was in a marketing role. I was laid off because the department shift. And I came out of the building in New York, and I was sitting in the car, and I suddenly was thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? What am I going to do? And I looked back and I saw all the people, friendships that I lost because I was striving to do projects, and my focus was winning.
Mm.
And I said, hey, I've lost all these friends. What did I gain in the end? And that was the beginning of the book, because I understood the difference between winning and success. Winning is short term with a start and an end, and you win something. But what you do while winning is you're losing a lot of people. You're on the train alone with the people left behind. And to me, success is basically a journey where you're taking people with you to achieve the projects. And so that, I said, and then I started teaching people. Somebody said, Mala, what are you going to do? And I started training people in public speaking and in leadership skills. And one of the courses I taught was titled Soft Negotiation. So this is what is in the book. And I also thought, hey, I just left behind all my Eastern principles, all the Indian principles, Indian values, and I became totally Westernized. So I went back to my roots and dug up what was valuable in that and put that in the book.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to pause on that thought and go a little deeper in regards to this Western, and I don't want to say versus because it's not a versus, but different schools of thought, different approaches. And what you said, this sort of zero-sum game, the I win, winner takes all, whatever phrase you want to use, is very Western, right? It's I don't know, blame it on Wall Street or blame it on who, I don't know what, but this is how we're taught in business school. And I love that you really brought your background and culture into this book and really teaching us, the importance of relationships and bringing this influence into our negotiations. So I want to touch on a few things that you talk about in the book, if I may ask some questions. One of the things that you talk about is the chakra of negotiation principles. Talk a little bit about that. That sounds so intriguing.
That is funny. Everybody who interviewed me so far, that's the first question they ask. So I'm not surprised. Basically, a chakra means wheel. And in yoga, and everybody knows yoga, and in Ayurveda, which is an alternate system of medicine originating in India, they talk about energy centers in the body, starting from the root chakra to the one, in the head, above the head.
The crown, right?
The crown chakra and the royal chakra. And unless they are in balance, you're not going to be healthy. So that is the theory behind the whole. So the yoga is based on, kind of synchronizing your mind, body, and breath, and also the nutrition. So you have to be balanced in order to lead a healthy life. So likewise, I feel that the principles I'm teaching, unless you adopt them and you're anchored in the the long-term goal, uh, you're basically not going to have a healthy negotiation. There's
Mm,
always going to be somebody who is winning or who thinks is winning and
mm,
somebody is losing. So this whole win-win principle doesn't work if those principles are not in balance. And it has to be a wheel, because it is something that is rotating on its axis. And so that's how this whole chakra of negotiation principles came about.
awesome. Great. You talk about different behaviors that set yourself up for success, and you're alluding to this as we talk about the chakras. What are you list out 7? Maybe give us a couple of those that you think are most important in these situations.
Okay, sure. One of the most important is the sankalpa. Sankalpa in Sanskrit means intention.
Mm,
So if you go into a negotiation and your intent is to outwit the other person, there is no way you're going to walk out with friendship.
mm,
Your intention drives your behavior. So it is very important. That is one of the key principles. So that drives your goal. So when you have a goal for negotiation, it's not the typical what you read in the books about their interest, my interest. It's more about what is the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is long-term relationship and long-term results.
mm,
So if your whole negotiation is anchored on that, then your other 7 behaviors become automatic. Because
mm.
if you violate those 7 behaviors, there's no way you can materialize the intention.
Got it. So let me ask you a practical question, Mala, based on what you just said. Let's assume, and it is true, so we're not even assuming, that I'm entering a negotiation with my landlord right now, right?
Okay?
And the times we're in, we're all finding ourselves negotiating a little more right now. So this is very timely. And my goal, I've had a relationship to some extent with a landlord, meaning I pay the money every month and they accept it, right? But there's layers in between myself and this landlord. And even though I want to have a positive relationship, I want to, build that relationship. Number one, there's too many layers in between. And number two, they seemingly don't care, frankly. they're, they don't have the same interest, it seems like, to, work together. It's like, take it or leave it kind of thing. How do you negotiate with somebody who doesn't want to negotiate?
It actually, and that is the difference I draw between negotiation and bargaining.
Mm,
Bargaining is when you have 2 sides, and one side says, I want this, and the other side takes a stand. It's like going to a car dealership. That's a bargain, because there's a start and an end, and one person walks away with what he or she wants, and the other person loses. What I recommend is look at what is needed. You see, when you drive your negotiation, when you drive a business conversation with what you desire as opposed to what you need, then that is not going to give you the positive results. So you cannot think about what you want alone. So you have to think about what the landlord needs. And I tell this to people when I'm doing my lecture. It's not that the landlord is out to get you. Don't see evil intentions behind the other person. I'm not saying you're doing it, but I tell people, don't see evil intentions. There is a need, and you have a need. When you unearth what that need is and what your need is, then it's a lot easier to match. And I'll give you a business example. Here is a client who is saying, hey, I need, I want you to do 25 reports more, these reports, technical reports, software, that I need to, 25 reports more, and I want to do it within the deadline that we agreed upon initially. So June 10th, I want 25 more reports. And then you, as a vendor working with the client, you're saying, no way, we cannot do it. Or you're saying, okay, we'll do it, but it's going to cost you 25 reports more. And here's the thing. So what you're not doing is going beyond the demands and seeing what is the need. Just like you're in difficulty, the landlord is in difficulty.
Sure.
So if you go behind his wants and his demands and his unpleasant behavior, you'll see there is a need. And when you get to the need, then you can talk with that person better. If you go in and say, hey, I know what the need is. These are difficult times. And here is how I can help you. So then that's a different approach altogether. And I've seen this work every time, Felina. I've recommended this to people because I had one person who was actually, the insurance company refused to pay her for some damage their contractor did. And her thing was, okay, I'm going to, make it nasty for him. I'm going to write in the social media about this and everything. And I asked her, what is the purpose? What are you going to gain by making his life miserable? There's no thing. And, we're all, and I said, let us go to a higher level person within the organization and appeal to them. Give them a chance. Say, hey, you VP of communications, this is what is happening. And I know your company is a good company and this is your mission. And send them the mission and purpose that they've put on their, website. And ask them to, and she got $12,000 back from the insurance.
Wow.
Where was even the lawyers said you can't fight the insurance company. And she got it.
Wow.
So I think your and anyone's goal has to be driven by need, not by desires.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, I want to wrap up, Mala, with some of the cultural differences. Let's kind of pivot back to that. Bringing Eastern culture ideas into Western negotiations. What else should we be thinking about?
One of the things is Western, and I'm going to second what you said. There's no right or wrong. It is this way and that way, and you have to kind of bridge the gap. The Western mind, which I have become now myself, is very contract driven. You have these set of terms and conditions, and you have to agree with that. And if you have 70% of your terms and condition, and the other person has only 50%, then you won and he lost or she lost. Yeah. So it is very contract driven, very time driven. You have due dates, deadlines. And in America or in any of the Western world, you can basically negotiate with somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
It's a purely business relationship. The Eastern is all about relationship. You cannot negotiate with somebody that you don't know. You have to first build a relationship, or the relationship starts after the contract is done. So a lot of companies that outsource to India, and the Indians came up with very low prices. And they said, oh, okay, this is great. They accepted, signed off on the deal. And when day one started, they said, okay, here's what's in the contract. And the Indian is saying, what contract? Because the contract for us is the relationship.
Got it.
And for you, the contract is all the terms and conditions. And it's a long-term contract. So in the end, you're paying the Indian company as much as you would have paid somebody locally, long-term, because it's a 1-year contract you drew, but it drags on because, you know, they were thinking, okay, this is long-term. So it's a different relationship based. And it's not that they are trying to cheat you. That's what, you know, I used to give multicultural talks, and the Americans would say, you know, I mean, that is deceptive. No, that's not deceptive. That's the way business is done there. It's all relationship. Yeah. The contract means nothing. And also in India and most of the Asian countries are very indirect in the way they speak. They're not going to be direct. So if you ask them, are you going to be here? You know, there's a meeting and, you know, so they're basically going to not tell you directly, okay, I cannot do the project. They will never say no. And even when they say, I'll try, it's basically a no, a polite way. So they're not going to say no. They're going to indirectly say something. They're going to say, oh, I have a meeting or I have something else. And you have to draw the inference. And if you're not used to it, then you're going to take them at their word, and that is going to be disappointing. So these are the two major.
Yeah, those are some big differences. Lots to learn. Awesome, Mala. Well, if folks want to buy your book, where do they do that?
They can go to Amazon and look for Beyond, BEYOND, Wins, WINS. And they can also go to my website called beyondwins.com. And there is the buy button there that they can click on and go get the book.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Mala. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Felina. This was great.